Music from outer space. Synth-diy.
Hello, this is Ray Wilson of Music from Outer Space, and I'd like to just share with you a little bit of information about the new module that I've come up with. I'm calling it the MFOS Wave Freaker module. And essentially what it does is it takes a triangle wave input or a sine wave, and it puts some controlled distortion on it. I'll have to show you what that looks like. That's very interesting in order to come up with some new timbres. Now, as I tweak the knobs and so forth, I'll be showing you what the wave looks like on the oscilloscope, and you'll also be able to hear it because I've got an amplifier here, and so that'll be good. I'll just go over the controls just briefly. You have your input level control. You actually use that to set the input level to the proper level for the function of the entire module. You'll notice as I turn this up a little bit, that LED comes on, the active LED, and that's important. That lets you know, okay, you're at the level you need to be. You want to get that light on and then just back off about a tick for that. You're going to have a pulse level to route to the output, a sub-octave level of the fundamental, a sub-octave level of your fundamental. You also have the distorted or I would call it a peak inverted wave that you'll have a level for that. And you also have a step wave level, very interesting waveform that I'll show you on the oscilloscope as well. Whenever you have the wave shape, this peak inversion, you can invert the top peak and the bottom peak, or just the bottom peak. You also have voltage control over the shape of the inverted peak triangle wave, and you have voltage control over the width of the step wave, the bottom and top steps. This really puts out some interesting timbres. I'm going to show you now. I'm going to go to the oscilloscope and start tweaking knobs. I'll tell you what knob I'm tweaking, what I'm doing, so you understand how it works. All right, I'll be right back. And what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to show you what the wave looks like. So it's essentially, it's just the triangle wave that we're putting in here, okay? But now I'm going to change the wave shape and show you what I mean about this peak inversion. So we're taking those peaks and we're inverting them. And you see what that does. Until we get actually to the point where now the waveform is times 3 of what it was before. I know that sounds odd, but watch what's going on. You see, and what that actually comes out to be is the 5th of the octave. Okay? So that's when you're inverting both peaks. When you want to just invert the one peak, this is what you get. And now we can go to the octave of what we're listening to. And I have the input set to about 1 kilohertz in frequency right now. Okay, so that's changing the wave shape control. And as you change the wave shape control, the LED, the active LED comes on, because as soon as the wave starts to be folded like that or inverted at the peaks, that's when we know we're active. That's why as you're turning the input level up, you'll notice there, about there is where that LED starts coming on, because we're starting to fold the peak, see? So we want to back that off until we see just a clean, nice triangular wave. Then we use the wave shape control to change it the way we want it to be. So now that's the what I call the wave shape and the wave level being turned up. Now the other interesting wave is the step wave. Go ahead and turn that up. Now you can see that this is an interesting wave. When you put this through a filter, you're really going to get a lot of places for resonances to occur, and it's really going to have a lot of harmonics in there. Now I'm going to go ahead and sweep this with the function generator here, so you can just hear. You hear that unusual sound you get as you go through the frequency range. Okay, so that's that step wave. And we'll go to this wave. But we'll Go ahead and change the shape. You see that? Until we get all the way where it's essentially the octave. Okay. So again, pulling that down. And of course you can combine these. So we'll add some step wave in there. A little less of the wave level. Okay. You can see what that sounds like. Now we're going to go ahead and put in a little pulse. Now, in order for the pulse wave to come out, the LED has to be on. Okay, so if it's not on, in other words, here we'll turn it all the way off, you're not going to get that. Okay, and as I say, it's pulse width modulated as you change the wave shape control. Now we'll add some octave underneath that. We're going to add some sub-octave. We'll add in the wave. We'll add in some of the step. Now that's a pretty wild looking wave for starting out with a vanilla triangle wave. And we'll go back to that. Remind you. There's our triangle. Okay. Alright. Now what we're going to do, now I'm going to show you how you can modulate these waveforms via the control voltage inputs. I'll be right back. Alright. This is the peak inversion modulation, and you can you can modulate when that inversion happens. You can change that by, adjusting the wave shape control with the modulation being fed in. I guess I'm feeding in about plus and minus 2.5 volts modulation, but you can modulate it more. Now it's about 5 volts of modulation. And what this reminds me of, when I turn this up, it's kind of like when you're running your finger around the lip of a wine glass. Kind of gives you that effect. It's kind of cool. Alrighty. And again, you can mix this in with others of the waveforms available. I'm mixing it in with the step wave. Okay, we'll go low. Go lower. Okay, and this is no filtering, nothing. This is just the waveform itself as you're modulating it. Turn that modulation frequency down a little bit. That's a pretty cool waveform. So, and back to that. Okay, and there's 2 modulation inputs for that. So you could be modulating with a couple of sources. Here we'll add the pulse in and see what that does. And you can see how that's actually pulse width modulating. Okay, and then you add in that wave, what I'm calling a wave, which is the processed triangle. And this is what you get. Now we add in a little bit of the sub-octave. That's pretty fat. So add in the sub-octave. Okay. And when you start putting this through your filter, you're going to start to get some pretty wild sounds with these shapes. Okay, now that's modulating the wave shape and that pulse width, and adding it to those sub-octaves. Now we're going to modulate the step wave. See what that looks like and sounds like. Okay, let's turn him up. That's kind of an unusual sound, I'm telling you. You could hear it full fidelity like I am. Unfortunately, this camera doesn't record very well. Now we'll go low with this. Now you can see we're modulating so much that the bottom and the top occasionally are just clipped off. Just turn your modulation down. You can bring them just about to where they're going to go off. Right, bring the wave in a little. Kind of get more low frequency content when we do that. Now we got this. Now we'll bring in the pulse. Sub-octave, sub-sub. And I'll turn this down some. I mean, this sounds like several oscillators all being mixed together, and it's just this one module giving you all this, I think, cool timbre. Actually, a lot of flexibility and a lot of possibilities for waveforms for your work. Now what we're going to do is we're going to change the input to be a sine wave. Let's turn everybody down again. Okay. So you do the same thing. You want to turn your wave shape all the way down, turn your input level up, after you've input your signal until the LED comes on. Again, back it off a little bit. Okay, now we're going to look at the wave, and there's our sine that we're inputting. But now, we'll start folding it, see? We're going to invert those peaks. And again, we can modulate that. I'll go ahead and change my jack over to here. So you can get some fun out of your sine waves. And of course, mix the pulse in. You want to add some higher harmonics. Step wave. Sub-octaves. Nice and low. At these lower frequencies, this kind of reminds me of a lightsaber. Shaking things in my house. I hope you can hear this. Okay. Alright, so basically that's it. Here, well, we'll just go with this too. You can, as I said before, just do the bottom part, invert the bottom peak, and change that. Now, if I change the if I can find it here, the duty cycle. Okay, this is more of a sawtooth wave. This particular function generator doesn't go very, very sharp on the rising or falling edge, regardless if you're going, ramp or sawtooth. If you were having a very fast sawtooth come in here, you probably wouldn't get this little bit over here because it's just straight up and down. There's no angle. So, but with the, you see, you will get a nice stair-step waveform with your ramp or sawtooth wave with the step wave. And that's going to add in those harmonics, like I said. We'll go ahead and sweep this a little bit. I'm going to start to go up. There you have it. MFOS Wave Freaker. And I think it offers a lot of flexibility for your synth. I hope you can get a chance to check it out. And then it'll be ready to go. It'll be on the musicfromouterspace.com website. Well, thanks for watching, and I actually hope that these waveforms came through okay in this video. This is Ray Wilson of Music from Outer Space. Again, thanks for watching, and we'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye.
Music from outer space. Synth-diy.